But when you're trying to compare increases, striking it. The last item that I happened to put on your schedule, I just compared what if we looked at the budget and you remove the statutory expense. That was an interesting, enlightening to me, because I saw, as I was reading the old library audits, that until the year 2002, the statutory expenses were never charged to the library. Healthcare, pension, Social Security taxes were always included in the line item in the regular borough budget. 2002, and then Robert and I had the conversation. What was the change? All of a sudden, there was a 4% cap being imposed, and Robert can speak to it probably better than I. And it said, hey, we need to get, because the library is being considered outside, we need to put those costs over there. And so lo and behold, in 2000, big jump in the contribution attributable to moving the statutory expenses over. So, it's kind of hard. I think our idea of fairness, if you're comparing budget increases for departments, it's nice to compare them on an apples-to-apples basis.
Okay.
May I just respond to one thing you said?
Let me-
Sure. Right now,
Can I hold on just one
Yeah.
second, and just maybe put this in your notes, Robert, maybe talk about 2002. And I'm just going off recollection, moving the statutory expenses, but I believe at the same time, the technology was moved out of the library budget, it was moved into the main budget, which was library expense, but hold that thought. I just want to make that note. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to respond. At this point, the proposal before the Board of Trustees next week is for no salary increases for our staff.
Yeah, that I think is the last
Well,
column.
even I wouldn't ask for that.
I think
I think it's fair to get some salary increase.
the last column,
too. We
the
would like
last
to.
column, let me just, is to try to say, we've taken a look at the third of a mil, and what do we have to do, basically, to bring our funding and our operations into line. And the fundamental assumptions that have, I think, resulted, the Personnel Committee of the Board, Don Links, Bob Coltis, and I, worked with Nancy and her supervisors, really struggling on how do we change the hours. We're going from 68 to 56. We will be on comparable libraries in the surrounding communities at the absolute bottom by far.
Not to interrupt you, Tom, but would you do me a favor anyway?
Sure.
I'm looking at your budget and a comparative analysis
Yes.
with actual '08,
Yep.
budget '08,
Yep.
and budget '09. If you stripped out the payroll and statutory,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now with that included, you're showing a 10.6% increase.
Yep.
Which doesn't look good to me. But if you strip that out, what would it be? I just, you don't have to do it right now, I don't want to take,
Okay,
but that'd be interesting information.
Okay. What we've done is, we said, okay, we're eliminating the increase. Nancy has made the comment, she said even if any increase is given, she is getting zero. Hours on full-time staff, because I think they have made the decision. We've worked with them since last November when we had the indication that that's where this was going, and tried to explain to them, I think, the financial consequences. And I said, either somebody's going to lose a job or we're going to have to reduce hours. They have chosen as a group, to their credit, we want to keep everybody employed. So,
It's commendable.
yeah, the 36 goes to 32, which is roughly a 11% reduction. The hour reduction is 17. Why isn't it equal? Because there are some other things that kind of offset in there. Statutory items, healthcare, there is no change, because it's basically a flat rate. Pension, profit, payroll taxes, et cetera, we just reduce for the payroll. Collection, I just said, that's where we're gonna balance it. Utilities, we've tried to do a calculation on, if we shrink the hours, there will be some reduction in utilities. And then the all other is basically flat, the $94,000. It's, we'll.
As long as you're stripping, by the way,
Yeah, yeah.
at my prior request, strip the utilities out of that as
Okay,
well, if you would.
okay, we'll do that. You got the machine over there? Can you do that?
I was going to do something else.
Okay.
Look,
I
I've
do have a calculator in my bag over here, and I can do it, but I realize we're running over time right now.
No, I've been in your position in my job, trying to justify budgets and being asked to decrease the budget. It's not easy.
No, it's not.
But on the other hand, going through the exercise, I think, forces everyone, people in your position and us, to take a closer examination of what we do, how we do it, and try to wring efficiencies out of it.
Let me just tell,
I think you've done that.
let me tell you.
So I
I've given you
appreciate
some
it.
ideas, Mr. Dunham, in terms of, as the Personnel Committee was taking a look at it. There was a practice that we used to give awards for, quote, longevity. We said, what is that for? You know, it's inconsistent with, I think, our policy. Gone.
I saw
Looked
that.
at other kinds of, things that have been built up and say, hey, we took this as an opportunity to really look at how can we restructure. We looked at our departments. We basically went from 4 supervisory positions to 3. I said, that's going to remain with us whether we have 1/3 of a mill or we get something more. That's the way we're going to operate. And so it has been a beneficial exercise that I think maybe would have accrued over the years, but it would have been a lot slower process. I know Ms. Tsukamoto likes the zero-based budgeting approach. It's almost looking at that and saying, okay, why are we doing that?
Zero's always a good place to start. Anyway, now, Mrs. Bailey, I know you had some thoughts about utilities, which Mr. Dunham brought up, and I don't know if
Right.
that's something you want to discuss.
There has been some discussion that there perhaps should be some uniformity or some consistency is the right word, in how we approach municipally owned buildings. And in each of our buildings that we own, except for the library and the Museum of Early Trades and Crafts, we pay for those utilities. It's in our electric field. And I think Robert Kalafut could probably speak a little to that, how, if we were to have a consistent policy and assume the responsibility of the utilities for the library, what would happen in terms of our overall picture?
Well, initially, as far as the utilities are concerned, the taxpayers have and currently are paying for all the utilities.
Correct.
Approximately 9 years ago, we went through an exercise to strip away whatever costs we could, not as deep and complete as this, but 9 years ago, we completely eliminated the funding for street lighting. The entire cost for the audience, the entire cost of street lighting, the taxpayers are not paying for that. That's being absorbed by the electric utility. Whereas if you were to go to the county of Morris and look at all of the other municipalities within Morris County, with the exception of Butler, which has their own electric utility, you would see a significant budgeted appropriations included in taxation for street lighting. There's none in the Borough of Madison municipal budget. I've given some consideration, discussed this with several members of council. Perhaps we should strip away all electric utility payments, since they are self-owned utilities. Strip them away, eliminate them completely from the municipal budget, including water, since that is also a wholly owned municipal utility. The net result would be 2. There would be a reduction in municipal property taxes or municipal appropriations as a result of that, but the electric utility, which currently is under severe financial pressure, would have to absorb those reductions in the payments for those use of the electric and water municipal utilities.